Hello,
Me
folks,
too.
and welcome to the Everything Omnibus, your source for everything topical. I'd like to introduce you to my most respected host, co-host extraordinaire. Everyone, please meet Jazz.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. From across the air to across the lines, we meet and greet you all and hope you enjoy and listening to our podcast. My co-host Justin here graciously has introduced me, and we'd like to introduce Justin right back. Give a round of
Yes,
applause for Justin.
thank you, folks. Please keep it down. We're going to go right into it because we don't have a very high tolerance for crap, and we've actually recorded this podcast a few times. So if we sound exhausted, please, folks, deal with it. All right, we're going to start with our very first topic. Jazz, how did you get banned off of Skype?
Well, apparently, Skype thought that my photo was too risque, which I don't understand. It's the same red dress I'm currently wearing in my profile photo on Facebook, and or the same red dress I'm also wearing for Skype, and my boobs are covered, my ass is covered, and my cooter is covered. But apparently, Skype thinks I violated the terms and tried to lock me out of my account.
You don't
And
say.
well, no, it's really stupid. Everything was covered. I mean, what do they want me to dress in a burqa, cover myself from head to toe? I don't see
I
how it was offensive and where it broke the terms of services.
I don't know, but myself, I got into a fight with Facebook earlier today myself. I was
Oh,
engaging with one of my friends, and I used the thumb up emoji. Next minute, I got a strike from Facebook telling my profile was under basically locked because what I was sharing was nudity.
what? No.
Yes, literally. It was a guy wearing a white T-shirt, sticking his thumb up. But some robot on Facebook went, "Oh no!" So of course, I had to go appeal that. Yes, hi, I'm not using nudity in the comment section. Please smarten up.
Facebook, your boss can't fucking read.
Yeah, speaking of counterculture, you know what, folks? We're going to get right to one of our pressing matters. We're going to start with a article that's hitting the rounds right now, making the rounds, I should say. Pink Floyd fans mock criticism of woke Dark Side of the Moon logo. The article starts,
Oh,
you know you're homophobic when you get mad at the Pink Floyd rainbow. Pink Floyd fans have hit out an anti-woke conservatives who have mistaken the band's Dark Side of the Moon logo for a show of support for the LGBT community. This week, the legendary prog rockers announced they would be releasing a special reissued box set of their iconic album to celebrate its 50th anniversary. To launch the new box set, the band shared an updated version of the art for the album as their official Facebook profile picture. It seems the prism with 50 written inside of it with the O are the colors of the rainbow, calling back to the Dark Side of the Moon artwork. So, a few of the angry comments we got here were, lose the rainbow. You're making yourself look stupid, one wrote, with another saying they won't listen to Pink Floyd again moving forwards. And then one more, are you going woke with rainbows? Another angry fan added, is there a straight flag? I want equal representation. Don't get me wrong. We should all be true to who we are.
okay. Okay. I'm sorry. That I, I'm trying to contain my laughter here. Okay. If you're gonna make a proclamation that something is offensive, please, people, do us all a big favor. Before you comment, open your mouth, or say something, do your research. There's nothing offensive about Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. In fact, um, Pink Floyd members wanted something simple on their cover for the Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, to where they were opening up a physics textbook where it shows prism lights with the prisms. So it was basically a theory done by Sir Isaac Newton and Michael Faraday when they were studying light particles in a room and how light splits off and bounces off through and being split into particles. So I mean, and it was Rick Wright that actually suggested they wanted something very simple for the album. And the album cover, vinyl cover, in the sleeves part, Roger Water created the Pink Floyd, the heartbeat, going through the whole sleeve cover of the albums to represent one heartbeat. I mean, I just think it's ludicrous their accusations saying that this is homophobic without doing the actual proper research of the album itself. I mean, Justin, what's your views on this?
When I look at the artwork, and I think this was intentional, The different colors going through the prism is supposed to represent different facets of life, different people with different viewpoints who are basically emerging together, that are coexisting in harmony, a harmonious balance. And I like to liken this to basically how we are all inclusive today in 2023, or how we should be. I mean, there's more controversial albums in the Pink Floyd canon. Like, we can talk about Animals, for example.
Oh, that's a great album, Animals. I mean, I think my top five albums for Pink Floyd, I think it would be Dark Side of the Moon, definitely be number one. I've always adored that one. Actually, my water bottle is Dark Side of the Moon,
No
product
product
endorsement.
placement intended.
No, and then the second album I would rate for Pink Floyd's catalog would be The Wall, and then the next one would be Animals, and then Medal. That's also a good one. Oh yes, and Pied Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and Adam Hart Mother. Those are my top five or six albums I would equate to being a wonderful choice for Pink Floyd. I mean, Pink Floyd itself with The Dark Side of the Moon, I think it was released either 1971 to 1974. I mean, it still has relevancy. We're still talking about it 50 years. I don't think Pink Floyd at the time, when they were recording this, would feel we would still be talking about it in 50 years. And I don't feel that they thought it would be relevant for now and day and age of how it's still relevant circulating for 50 years. It shows the testimony of time, you know?
It really does. And I think we should be like respectful of Pink Floyd for creating something. This is an album that's basically considered one of the pioneers of prog rock music. Money, amongst other tracks, are basically in heavy rotation to this day. You look at the album artwork, it's ingrained in the pop culture phenomenon.
I
It's
think it's
on
one of the top albums from the 1970s. I mean, I
it's
still
one of
picture the kid. I still picture my dad probably being a teenager or, other teenagers, smoking a bit of pot, having a bunch of cookies and munchies and just sitting there listening to Pink Floyd on blast, full blast, right?
yes, and watching it with basically the Wizard of Oz. That's the 1-2 knockout combo.
I mean, I don't understand that because I've watched YouTube videos where it syncs up Dark Side of the Moon with The Wizard of Oz. The problem is you have to repeat the album twice because the footage of the length of the film is not the same time clock for the album. The album I think is only 45 minutes, and I think Wizard of Oz is like an hour and 45 or something.
You know what? I'm going to give you guys a better thing to watch, and I'm going to give you a great album to work with as well. So instead of doing the old cliche Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz, try this one out. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm
The
all ears.
Shining. The Shining with Britney Spears' first album.
I'm sorry, what? I'm
I mean,
sorry,
did I
what?
stutter? Did I stutter? Yes. Britney Spears and The Shining. I mean, give it a shot, guys. Tell
Are
me
you
what you
taking
think.
are you taking the piss out of us?
No, I mean, like, oops, I did it again. Like, I can see myself picking up an axe with that one. Come on.
Oh my God. Give me the bat, Wendy. Give me the bat. Give me the bat.
Oops, I picked up the bat. I mean, it's ingenious, but give it a try, guys. Okay, so we're going to be moving on. We just talked about Pink Floyd. In fact, we have just a few more comments here. I believe I went over this one, but we're going to touch on it again. You know you're homophobic when you get mad at that rainbow. That has always been Pink Floyd's logo. It shines out of the triangle, represents the start of life and all the paths taken and influences over time. A third said, ironically, those complaining about a rainbow are also those that complain that everyone gets offended so easily these days.
Like I said, I feel people should be listening to the album, doing the research. Please, guys, pick up a book, watch the films, like The Wall. That's a good one. I mean, and we should also listen to the album. Read biographies about these artists before you start making harsh judgments on the material that they product out. Because I don't feel this is offensive in any way, shape, or form, and they should stop. The cancel culture needs to stop touching Pink Floyd. Period.
Exactly. And if we're going to be talking about books that need to be banned, the perfect segue here, we're going to start with one a few people may be under the radar about. Of course, I'm
Actually, wait a
talking,
minute. Here's the bigger question. Did you ever watch Pink Floyd's The Wall?
yes,
Did you ever watch it? Okay, now here's the bigger, funnier question. Did you see it high or sober?
For legal reasons, I'm going to say I saw that one sober.
No, I took shrooms and I also watched it sober. I mean, both are very enlightening experiences. It's one of those films where it don't matter what capacity of mind you're in, you can still watch it and it's still relevant.
The comments Jazz is making on the Everything Omnibus does not reflect the thoughts and feelings of the Everything Omnibus.
Oh, you're always a laugh, Justin.
Hey, it's what you pay me for. So, we're going to be talking about banned children's books. And the first one that comes up, get this, folks, this may be a shocker to you, Charlotte's Web.
Are you kidding me? They
Yes.
touched out. No. My
Oh,
dad used to
yes.
read me that as a small child. Why are they banning this?
The Death of the Spider was
Are
teaching
you
kids mortification, was teaching children basically life and death before basically losing the innocence of childhood in many parents' eyes.
are you kidding me? It's a spider. A common house spider does not live very long.
Apparently, the circle of life should be shook or swept under the rug for another couple years in many parents' eyes.
No offense. I'm not telling people how to raise their kids, but death is a part of life. Death and taxes. You're guaranteed those in life. Those are the definite ones. We shouldn't be fearing death. We should be embracing death. We should be embracing life, but we should also teach kids a sense of realism that, yes, life isn't just all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. Yes, keep their innocence, but we shouldn't be lying to kids about death and demise. I mean, how do you explain that when their goldfish dies, or the cat dies, or the dog dies? I mean, you're really censoring kids from knowledge of life expectancy of life in general.
That was only one bone of contention with Charlotte's Web. Get this, there's more. In fact,
Oh,
another issue. Basically, parents from religious backgrounds, I believe that the Christian community, were aggravated that the animals were talking to one another. They felt that humans were the highest, most intelligent creation of God's species, and that this, for the animals, especially Wilbur, to be talking was considered blasphemous.
okay. What I consider blasphemous is in the Bible. Doesn't Moses talk to a burning bush when God comes down and talks to Moses as a burning bush?
Yes, in this response,
Was
I am what I am.
I mean, no offense. Maybe Joseph was piping on a little too hard on the cannabis, don't you feel? Or the psychedelics?
I mean, this can also go back to Pokemon. Um, some religious backgrounds felt that Pokemon was considered black magic, and that releasing Pokemon for battle is kind of like the same thing as summoning demons for a.
Yeah, but no, and
Demo-
they also try to ban Harry Potter because apparently to be Christian, or I'm not saying all Christians, but to be Christian is to have no sense of imagination. I mean, you're really censoring your child from being creative and having their own sense of thought and imagination.
of course, and the Harry Potter universe is filled with creativity. There's so many memorable characters, so many concepts that basically is a perfect escape from our everyday reality. I mean, going through walls, talking with the supernatural, looking at giant leviathans and golems and monsters. I mean,
I I mean,
to
the
go
only thing I could
against
say about
this.
that, I feel the only thing with J.K. Rowling, and I'm going to say this, I love her books, but I don't like what she's become making anti-transgender comments against the transgender community. I mean, it's really sad that it's got to that point where her books are amazing, they're beautifully written, but it's what she's become afterwards with the whole, again, saying things against the transgender community. I mean, that's left a sour taste in people's mouth. She couldn't even appear on her on a show, like basically to celebrate the 10 years of Harry Potter. She was not allowed to attend that show when they had it on TV.
Get out of here! I wasn't aware of this. You
No,
have to elaborate with this here.
no. So basically, J.K. Rowling. I mean, I'd have to pull up the Twitter rants. She basically is saying in so many words that transgender women aren't real women, and that referring to, basically we used to call people, what are they called, women, bum, and she started to say all this stuff that hinting that we've lost our identity as women and all that stuff, and just not very supportive things.
I believe I
I
have some of the excerpts right here, if you mind me cutting
Yes,
in. What
yes,
did
please.
J.K. Rowling say exactly? On June 6, 2020, Rowling retweeted an OPED original posted piece that discussed People who menstruate, apparently taking issues with the fact that the story did not use the word women. People who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Lumben? Wimpun? Wumud? She wrote.
Oh, oh man. Okay. Now, again, I'm not against transgender people at all. I mean, that's the sad part is, ironically, she sold us this dream of this world of Harry Potter where the world was so accepting because you see many different characters. Like, for example, Lupin. Lupin, she says she wanted to compare it to almost HIV, about him being shunned, being a werewolf, about him being restricted as a werewolf, certain things. And she talks about this in her book, like how Lupin was basically mistreated and using that concept like that. But then on the one breath, she's making a very accepting world. And on the other hand, she's making these comments that really isolate the transgender community, and it's very offensive. You know,
And to
women who
continue the
menstruate.
article, the
Yes,
initial tweet garnered a lot of backlash, but the Harry Potter author did not relent and wrote about her views in more detail. If sex isn't real, there's no same sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth, she tweeted. The idea that women like me, who have been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e., to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and have lived consequences, is a nonsense.
I don't know what to really say about this because it's like I'm tongue tied with this because I mean, I believe that people should be whoever they need to be, or it's not even the point of want to be. I mean, I cannot imagine being born transgendered, looking down at my own private parts and say something is not right, and not feeling right as the gender I've been assigned to at birth. That must be really, I cannot imagine how that would feel. I would feel I would feel very lost and confused as a person. If anything, I would be seeking out that other identity.
And as a public figure like J.K. Rowling, who basically has legions of fans around the world, people that come from all walks of life, different ways to identify, you have to be very careful with how you conduct yourself in a public setting.
I think it's really sad because, like I said, in one breath, she's making a fantasy world where everything is accepted and everybody's accepted in her little universe of Harry Potter. But then on the other hand, in walking life, she's not practicing what she preaches. She's actually very hypocritical. Like I said, I will always have love for the Harry Potter books and movie franchise. They did an awesome job with those films. The books were well written, very beautiful books. But the problem is, I still can't get over what the author has said. It's really just mind blowing. And even some of the cast and crew that did were in the films. They stood right up for transgender people.
And of course, the fans have had their say in the matter too. The fan
Yes,
backlash, Rowling's initial tweets and her subsequent doubling down have drawn a lot of ire from trans activists and Harry Potter fans, many of whom have found comfort in the story of an outsider finding a place where he belongs. There's just no evidence that me being me is causing problems for any of the other women I've met. If there are ever any problems between women and trans women, they should be dealt with sensitively and sensibly on a case by case basis. Please, for the love of God, leave us alone.
I will say this for the omnibus podcast. Transgender, we accept you just for who you are. There's no discrimination here. You are women too. I as a woman, we accept you.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to be anything, whether it's transgender, non-binary, we do not discriminate against the LGBTQ. We do not discriminate against any race or culture. You are all loved and welcome. Everybody from around the world, we love you. So if you ever feel like alone and outcasted, please come listen to our podcast. We celebrate you.
Yes. And we're here to take any of your questions. And if we don't get you on the air, we will try our very best to address them on the air in one of our many episodes planned for the foreseeable future. Remember, we are all united and we have strength in numbers. So
So
just
To segue into the next segment, Justin, what's next on the podcast?
Oh, yes, I have the itinerary here. We just mentioned
Okay.
technical difficulties. We have cancel culture. How about
Mm-hmm.
recent attacks on the public transit system?
Ooh, this is a big one. Time for me to make my homemade bear mix, folks.
Dum da dum dum.
Dum.
Okay, I'm going to start with the very first one. This
Got it.
one
Yeah.
thankfully came to, I wouldn't say positive, but a very, very fortunate ending. A woman, a colored woman, I might add, was recently attacked. The closed circuit television footage exists if you do want to look at it up. I strongly advise against it. But a woman was pushed onto the track simply for being, I believe, Middle Eastern. And she ended up in the track area between the
Oh,
railing,
wow.
between the third rail and the other. It was basically the gap between the tracks. And she honestly thought she was going to die. But by the grace of God, by a small miracle, she survived with only broken ribs. Can you
She is,
imagine that?
I would, oh my God. I mean, uh, I would be so freaked out. I mean, those trains alone, I think they're 85 to 95 clicks, meaning that's how fast they go, right? And I, believe it or not, not to segue into a different story, somebody actually tried one time to walk across um, Broadview Bridge, like Broadview Station to Castle Frank. It was so lucky for so many reasons. For example, if she would have tapped the third track, that's a live wire. She could have been electrocuted. Thousands of bolts could have went through her. Not to mention that train. She must have been
Yes.
so scared.
She
I don't.
felt she was going to die. That's the scary thing, to accept it. And with a small miracle to survive it. I mean, how do you feel about something like that? It must be terrifying.
She would have to be in years and years of therapy, probably PTSD. Why was she pushed on the tracks? Has there ever been any confirmation of
As
why?
far as I know, the exact motive was never brought to light. We may have to do some investigative research. If anyone knows the exact motive of the attack we're talking about, please let us know. Send us an email, contact us via Facebook.
I
But
think
this,
everybody's gone buck. I think everyone's gone buck wild since the pandemic has been. I wouldn't say it's ended, but I think everyone's going buck wild right now. We've been too much in confinement, and we're now just like basically a dog off the leash, pretty much.
and it only seems like the violence is continuing to escalate on the public lines. We're hearing about incidents every day to the point where police are being brought in, armed officers at just about every station to watch over and make sure our regular commutes are just going smoothly. It's that dangerous now, folks.
Again, like I said, I'm gonna have to bust out the homemade bear mace. I mean, and again, I understand it's a concealed weapon, but I mean, if someone's gonna physically attack me, my attitude is fair game. You come at me, you're gonna pick the wrong fight with the wrong person, and fair game. We
So,
should be
folks,
able
let
to.
me ask you this question, folks.
Yeah,
How do you feel about police involvement on the TTC? Do you think we need an influx of police officers? Do you feel this is a temporary fix to a permanent solution? Please let us know what you guys think about it.
I think there should be increased police activity. Because this is a dangerous situation. We shouldn't, as Torontonians, feel threatened to ride on a TTC transit, which is again, having a car is a privilege, but TTC is necessary. Like we may have to even pay extra taxes for this.
I was just talking with Jazz about this off the air. Now, public transport does go up in price in increments. I believe every year about 25 cents. If you're going with the GO train, I believe that's I believe 50 cents. Now, don't quote me on this.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to pay the extra fare needed, the extra price, be it $2, be it $3, to have police involvement all year round permanently as part of our public transit lines?
And again, and this is the sad part, the rich won't be taxed for this. It will be upper middle, it would be middle class to poverty being taxed for this. I mean, I'm not thrilled of paying this, but people need to behave themselves. And this is the consequence to the action. You attack somebody, we get gypped in the butt again with our transit. Everything
And is
goes up
this
in
just
price.
the start? Are we going to have bulletproof vests? Are we going to have metal detectors? Are we going to be patted down before we go into subways, before we go on trains, before we go on GO trains?
This has become too far and too vast. I think this is really, it's disgusting. You
I
know,
mean,
it's
this is
it's
only going to
just
be taxed on to the rest of our construction going on with the Shepherd Station, with the Corkstown Station, with basically the Finch LRT that's coming into implementation soon enough
what
from the
they
West
call
End.
the you mean the smart track.
Yes, what's happening on the West End in Etobicoke, yes.
Yeah, that would be and they're doing one in Kennedy also. I mean, again, the smart track is for the rich and the elite. So, I mean, I don't know if we would be able to ride this track, and maybe that's just a rumor I heard. But I mean, we're already being taxed way too much. I mean, Trudeau's how many taxes? Carbon tax, this tax. I mean, even look at food prices. Everything's going up. We're almost in a recession.
Yeah, speaking of recessions, I mean, and also with Trudeau and his funding, of course, we've all heard about the earthquake today in Turkey, Syria. I believe
I
the number at my last check, 9,000 injured, about 4,000 dead.
I actually did not hear about this today. Can you enlighten me about the thing in Turkey? Because I didn't hear anything about this.
There was another earthquake that went off, and the number kept rising as bodies were continuing to be found in the rubble. The last time I was reading the news, it was up to 4,000 people, I believe, and in total, 9,000 were injured.
Oh my God, that's terrible. It's
As,
horrible.
as to
And
my
I
knowledge, Trudeau is going to be acting accordingly and benefiting the people in Turkey to help them in their time of need, which
and
is a
again, I'm
noble cause in itself, yes.
again, it is a noble cause, but I will say this, I'm not saying that other countries should not get our funding, but they should also be balancing the prospects of our people that live here also. There should be a balance between the two.
Yes, managing money, being able to strengthen us, not only domestically, but internally. As Canadian citizens, there needs to be leverage, there needs to be balance, in my perspective.
Yes. I mean, also too, I just feel that with Justin Trudeau doing this too much, I mean, we can't blame the boomers, we can't blame Generation Z, we can't blame millennials. We should be pointing a finger at our government. What you should really be asking as taxpayers is where is our money going and how is
We
it being
need
spent?
proof, we need evidence, we don't need promises, we don't need hyperbole, we need proof.
Speaking of politicians, it's unfortunate that and I know this has been a bit late, guys. So if you're tuning in, we've had to record this 4 times. Mayor Hazel died. Mississauga Mayor Hazel,
Another Canadian icon who had an opening
101,
funeral, I believe it
101,
was old,
101 years old, man. Damn,
I
that's
believe the
long.
funeral was taking place at Old City Hall downtown, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes, yes, definitely.
open to the public. Definitely a large turnout. A lot of people coming and honoring the former mayor.
And we ask you as everything Omnicast podcast, please be respectful to Mayor Hazel.
Yes,
We need to be respectful because she did a lot for Mississauga region. She was a really good mayor. Like she really kept it together. Like she was a long time being the mayor.
in fact, actually, going back to politics, going back to cancel culture, how would you folks feel about bulletproof vests in our public schools? This is in cooperation with what we were talking about with
Yeah,
violence on basically the public transit system.
I think I'm not a parent yet, but I will say this: I'm a bit kind of leery of sending my kids to public school for this fact that I'm scared that if I ever send my kids to public school, that my kid would be shot and my kid would be leaving home in a body bag.
This is one thing politicians have to deal with on a consistent basis. Toronto in itself is an icon for diversity. We strengthen ourselves in our motto with multiculturalism, yet at the same time, our number of hate crimes are increasing. It almost seems at an epidemic level, if I may add.
Canada, I hate to say this, and I know people are going to come for me, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, she sounds stupid for saying this." Canada, unlike America, America is overt with their racism. And again, we love all Americans, we love everybody around the world, but we got to address the elephant in the room. Canada is covertly racist. There's been increases of hate crimes all over Canada. And it's got to stop. It's really disgusting. Toronto means meeting place of our country, of our city. This is not what we stand for, with people being covertly racist to one another.
Yes, Toronto has a long-standing history Multiculturalism, we can go back to European settlers, Etienne Boulay, who was going through the basically Lake Huron, Lake Simcoe region, what is now known as basically the Old Mill Inn and the surrounding waterways that go to Lake Huron and to the harbor front. It was a trading post between the indigenous, between the European settlers, and to this day, it remains a popular historic and tourist attraction. You can go around Humber Bay Arch Bridge and you could see the indigenous influence. I mean, this is just one small smidgen of the inclusion we have in our city here from a historical standpoint. We need to come together and embrace different cultures. Instead, it seems like every day we're trying to strip away our identity.
We become very Americanized. And again, I don't want to point the finger at America, but we seem to, because we're so close to the borders between America and Canada, we tend to copycat a lot what America does with culturally and musically, and how basically, there's a shooting in America and then somebody tries to attempt that in Canada.
Social media in itself can be an evil. It can be a mass influencer. I mean, I hate to put anyone under the bus here, but let's, of course, bring up Kanye West and his anti Semitic comments.
Yes, I mean that I can say anything and Adidas won't cancel me. Honey, they just did. Literally, billions of dollars later.
Hey, but hey, if anyone wants to sponsor us, Adidas, hey, I could use some more shoes here. Wink, wink.
Actually, Korn made a song Adidas. All day I think about sex.
All day I dream about sex. That's the old
Yeah.
stereotype.
Yeah, Adidas. Total Adidas.
Kanye West is just one example of a celebrity that can inspire basically a massive fan base to think and act like him, to, I wouldn't say potentially attributing to Kanye himself, but copycat killers. People that could basically share the same beliefs, and that could be a dangerous thing.
I mean, it's really sad that, we just celebrated the Holocaust, the annual thing of the Holocaust a couple of weeks ago, too. And, for him to say these comments about Jewish people and anti Semitism is really irresponsible. He's been given a public platform to represent himself as, yes, a brand, but also a musician. I should say rapper instead of musician, but it's really, really disheartening that, out of all these years, we've had the Holocaust and we were taught in school why this was not a good thing, you know, and for him to make those comments, it's just irresponsible. I mean, he wanted to call his album Adolf Hitler,
I
you
mean,
know,
that is just completely apprehensible right there. That is deplorable in my
uh,
perception. And as a celebrity, you have to keep in mind that using a public platform, you have to be responsible. Otherwise, you could be setting a bad image for just a multitude of different fans for generations to come. This is stuff that's going to be written down in history for all to see.
I mean, maybe that's why he did it because, again, I sense a bit of undertones of narcissism with Kanye. I mean, what is the saying? Good press versus bad press, or no news is
There's
good
no
news,
such
or
thing as bad publicity.
yes. But I mean, really, this is going to be an echo chamber for years to come. I mean, we've also had synagogue attacks. We've had a horrible anti-Semitism
We've
towards the
had the
Jewish people.
Christchurch slayings. We've had the Etobicoke stabbings in the last couple of years. We've had, as I said, the family that was basically run down in London, Ontario, the Middle Eastern family, just as a hate crime, if I'm not mistaken. That was just the 1 year anniversary of that. It's terrible that acts like these continue to happen in 2023, let alone Canada, but the rest of the world too.
I mean, this is why I don't understand. Like, even with race and culture, why are we so divided by our skin? Why is it the color of our skin depicts who we are as people? I mean, we're all humans. We all have skeletons. We all have the same organs. We all bleed the same color. Why is it that, we're dictated by what color someone's skin is, or what their beliefs in religion and culture is?
Exactly. If anything, we should use our differences as a strength to come up with new and greater ideas for whatever our artistic or work related endeavors are. To have a different perspective, I think only strengthens us.
Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
We're so sorry you had to hear that, folks.
Oh, screw you, man. I didn't do it that badly.
No, you were fantastic. Folks, did you
Aw.
think Jazz was fantastic as well? Singing
Leave
and
it in the
dancing too at no extra charge.
leave it in the comment section, people. I mean, if you have random questions or comments, please write to us. Please post in the Everything Omnibus. We love to hear from you.
Yes, and speaking of hearing from you, we got some more debates that may inspire questions from our lovely audience. We're going to be talking about banned food mascots.
Ooh,
So, the first one, the Aunt
love
Jemima
that chicken from
mascot.
Popeyes.
Oh, don't get us hungry with official endorsements that we're not officially endorsing yet, right, Popeyes? Right.
Right.
Okay. The Aunt Jemima mascot has changed over the years, but its racist connotations prompted the company to rebrand recently. The article starts, the Aunt Jemima mascot was created in the late 1800s and was based on a minstrel song called Aunt Jemima. A former slave named Nancy Green was hired to portray the character on the company's branding. Since then, the mascot has been compared to Mammy, a racist stereotype portraying a black woman who is content with slavery.
One question I have to ask: were these people compensating for appearing on the branding back then?
I would hope so. It's a case by case basis, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel they should be compensated. If I was posing as, and I don't want to say posing, but if I was posing on a brand and my face is on that brand, I want to be paid for every cent of every time they make a damn sale of any of these products that has my face on there.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. Your own face, for those of you not aware of legal matters, is your own intellectual property, which you can profit off of if you are deemed marketable enough. So to continue, after years of backlash, the company decided to rebrand. In February 2021, parent company PepsiCo announced the logo will be replaced with an image of a mill, and the brand name on the products will read Pearl Milling Company instead. The updated items are expected to hit shelves in June. To close, though new to store shelves, Pearl Milling Company was founded in 1888 in St. Joseph, Missouri, and was the originator of the iconic self-rising pancake mix that would later be known as Aunt Jemima, the company said in a press release.
Well, again, that's crazy that they've had to yank it. I think I understand that it deems to be offensive, but I mean, branding is very important when you're doing a product because that's the first thing you recognize. It's comfort, it's familiar. We will always identify as Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben. I mean, didn't you say that Uncle Ben also changed its name to what was,
Yes,
huh?
yes, perfect segue. You're reading my mind. Uncle Ben
Oh,
was introduced in 1946 as the black face of a white company. Dressed in a bow tie and addressed as Uncle, the character evoked a servant. As the civil rights movement progressed, the company received pressure and criticism for using what seemed like a black servant to make sales. In 2007, the company rolled out a new marketing campaign that made the new mascot Ben the chairman of the board. Its parent company, Mars Food, told Business Insider in 2020 that it was planning to change its visual brand identity.
okay. So I mean, I guess I had Uncle Ben's actually for lunch with my salmon today.
As we listen to the voices of consumers, especially the Black community, and to the voices of our associates worldwide, we recognize that one way we can do this is by evolving the Uncle Ben's brand, including its visual brand identity. In September 2020, the company rebranded as Ben's Originals and has moved the image of a black man as its logo. The new packaging is expected to hit stores in 2021. And for those that's never seen Ben Selects, basically the former mascot that we've all seen is nowhere to be found.
I mean, I mean, what's your opinion on that? I think to me, I can understand why it's offensive because the terminology Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, it's implying slavery. I get why they removed it. What's your opinion on it,
I
Justin?
mean, if we're talking about today's youth, today's culture being offended, we can look at the cartoon Boondocks, which uses Uncle Ben as basically a stereotype of an African American who has basically discarded his nationality to seem Caucasian, to seem Southern, to be basically an old fashioned racial stereotype. In fact, I personally believe Uncle Ben's should be ingratiated as an endearing term. That's someone that wants to seem like a family member, as a part of your family, coming into your kitchen. I never looked at it as something racist.
Yeah, but we also have to honor the fact that some of these terminologies are very outdated, and it's just like even like with what's it called? What was that brand of butter that used the indigenous, the little Indian on the cover of the
Land
brand?
O'Lakes, yes,
Yes.
the Land O'Lakes unsalted butter.
See, because I'm part. People don't know this. I mean, I know I'm Caucasian by skin, but my family bloodlines, I do have indigenous. So, I mean, my attitude on it with the indigenous part, I mean, we have like the Chicago Blackhawks. We have another. I can't remember what football team it was, and they had like the imagery of the what they call the typical, the headdress and the indigenous native on there. My attitude on that is okay. I can see why people are coming for these aspects of cultural appropriations because it's almost like a stereotype, and I think that's why they kind of yanked it from the brandings because again, it kind of is offensive. Like for example, Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, it's just kind of again, it's there's a bit of a sense of offensiveness with it, but I can understand it.
I
You
think
know,
what
it's
you're referring to in terms of the indigenous imagery, Native American imagery, you're
yeah.
thinking of Chief Wahoo, who also used to be the major, or I believe it still is, the logo that was used for the Cleveland Indians, a Major League Baseball team.
Yes, yes. I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny when I'm saying this, so I'm going to tread lightly as I say this. I mean, the indigenous, I don't know if they've spoken out against that. We have yet to research about that. But I mean, if, for example, if it was any other culture being depicted as a mascot, it would be taken down immediately. And again, I mean, the variables could be like, make up any variable you want for a team using a race as a mascot, right? I mean, it would be yanked so quickly, it would be deemed inappropriate. I mean, it's even fathomable that the Chicago Blackhawks still, exists to this day.
In
And oh
terms of the
yeah, and
Cleveland
Washington,
Indians,
and Washington Redskins too.
the Cleveland Indians actually discarded the logo of the Native American back in 2018.
But also too, like for example, the Washington Redskins, the term redskin is deemed very
Yes.
offensive. To
Yes.
even to have the audacity and the nerve to even call it that, the
I
direct
mean,
insult.
we can go back to like basically the early days of pro wrestling. We can look at racially insensitive characters. We can look at Kamala, the Ugandan giant, who was basically a wrestler, if I'm not mistaken, by the name of Ben Harris, a man from Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken, who dressed up as an African tribal warrior, which included wearing the face paint, wearing a straw dress, going to the ring wearing a tribal mask, beating his stomach, implying that he was a cannibal. The list goes on and on and on.
I mean, and again, I can understand why some is deemed offensive, but I mean, branding, it's very expensive to make new branding, but I mean, when is enough with the censorship, though?
Yes, that is a question, folks. What do you think is the breaking point? I'm actually going to list off a few more here, just going through our itinerary here, looking at different backlashes. Of course, if you have any food products that you feel is offensive, please let us know. I mean, Jazz was just talking on Land O'Lakes. We're going to mention this one right here. Land
Yes.
O'Lakes has also removed a drawing of a Native American woman from its packaging. The image had been long criticized as a racist stereotype. The woman on the box of every Land O'Lakes butter box knelt on the green grass in front of bright blue water and held a box that also had the same image, so it repeated into infinity. The company had come under fire for using Native Americans as the face of a white owned brand. In February 2020, Land O'Lakes announced it would remove the woman from the logo.
So now it's just a lake and basically a sunshine.
Yes, and there goes, I hate to say it, some brand awareness. Speaking of brand awareness, we're going to talk about bananas. This one actually should make you go bananas.
Oh.
Chiquita Chiquita has also been accused of perpetrating a stereotype about Latinas. In 1944, Chiquita used a banana dressed as a sultry woman as its mascot, something critics said perpetrated the stereotype of Latina women being hypersexual. Today, the logo is a woman wearing a fruit hat channeling Carmen Miranda, Some say the logo exoticizes and even sexualizes Latin America and the tropics. The logo and mascot are still used to market the bananas. What are your thoughts, Jazz?
Um, I'm gonna make a slight joke here. I mean, over sexualizing it. I understand the stereotype why it's wrong because no woman should be overly sexualized if they don't choose to be. But also too, it's kind of hard to not throw sexual shade at the fruit because the banana, if again, is very phallic, in shape, right? I mean, what could you do with a banana, folks? Wink, wink. I mean, in sex ed class, we used to even put condoms on banana. Are we going to start banning that too in demonstration of how to put a condom on? Is it deemed too offensive?
I don't think
You
it's
know?
offensive, honestly. I don't think, especially with the modern packaging, I don't think it's racially insensitive at all. It's trying to give artistic flair, I feel, cultural flair to your items. People are looking to make food dishes, they're looking to design meals and whatnot. They're looking for exotic ingredients. I think people should embrace their nationality, where they come from. As I said, strength
Yes,
in numbers and diversity.
yes. And it would be a pivot stone and a teaching platform to teach people about different cultures, but not in a racist way. Obviously, the term Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima, the aunt and the uncle thing is what I think is really getting people pissed because, again, it implies slavery. So, is there a way that we can rebrand the culture, even though if it would have the black logos, perhaps in a different terminology or a simple, perhaps modernized, aspect of what it is? Because, again, if this has historical components of where it come from, and if it was actually black people that have created these brands, they should be honored like that too. You know.
Yes. Speaking of brands, Frito-Lay ran into some trouble in 1967 when Frito Bandito was introduced. Frito Bandito was introduced in the late 1960s to help sell Frito-Lay chips. He was a stout, mustache-sporting, sombrero-wearing bandit who stole corn chips. Frito Bandito was accused of perpetrating Mexican stereotypes. In 1971, the company ended the campaign after people threatened to boycott the brand.
Hmm. But again, it's properly so that they should remove the little, what is it, Beto Bandito or something?
Yes, he's basically wearing a bandolier. He's holding two guns in his hand. He has an evil look on his face and a sombrero, kind of reminiscent of Yosemite Sam.
That's been banned off of Looney Tunes too, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's. What is too much banning? That's the problem here. I mean, okay, I can understand it's a corn chip, so Frito Lay's a corn chip, but corn is actually, people don't know this. Corn is a national vegetable in Mexico. It's actually they're known as people of the corn. In their culture, the corn husks are actually celebrated. It's like their dominant food in Mexico.
Yes, our dominant mascot here, folks, in Canada, if you didn't know, was the beaver over there, the nacho. Now you know, thanks to the Everything Omnibus.
And also too, the maple leaf. That'd be like people banning. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of branding off my head. For example, the maple leaf. I hope the maple leaf is not deemed offensive because I like my maple syrup. Speaking of that, I need to get maple syrup for breakfast tomorrow.
You
Waffles.
should.
Mm.
That's product endorsement right there if I ever thought so. Maybe some people might think having maple syrup is not inclusive to the other leaves we have here in Canada. Maybe people might say, look at our loonies and say, you know what, loon is an offensive word. We should get rid of the ducks, the birds, the mallards on the back of our coins. Otherwise,
I don't know how nationally we can be taken seriously with our economical range. The loony and the toonie. That's all I gotta say. Looney Toonies. The Looney
yes.
Tunes. That's the
I
nice
mean,
way to. Huh?
you can look at basically the moose here, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Maybe we might be subjected to cartoonery ourselves. Who knows?
And that's a good one to segue into. So, did you ever watch the new episodes of the Looney Tunes?
No, I did not.
Oh dear God. Oh, they're really pushing on the freaking the banning stuff because, for example, and picture this. What comes to your mind when you think of Yosemite Sam?
I think of a rootin' tootin' bandit who's shooting off bullets and going absolutely apeshit trying to chase Bugs Bunny.
Okay, now let me paint you a picture here.
Dum
So
dum dum.
One time I was with a friend and I was watching, we were up late for some reason. We were just watching TV because he has a whole bunch of channels, right? And we watched the new episode of the Looney Tunes. And I thought, oh, yay, classics. Feeling like a kid again on a Sunday morning, right? 3 a.m. in the morning, or 2, 3 a.m. in the morning watching this, thinking, oh, cool, right? Nostalgia. So we go watch this Looney Tune things. Yosemite Sam, get this, they don't have his gun, and same thing with Elmer Fudd. But with Yosemite Sam, he's not hunting for meat anymore. He's eating vegan nacho cheese nachos.
Oh, somebody kill me, please.
Um,
Not
and, and, and,
Yosemite Sam.
and Bugs Bunny does not live in his little rabbit burrow hole anymore.
Yeah, that's bullshit, Duck.
No, and Daffy, he's living with Daffy Duck.
Oh my gosh.
And
You
same thing with
say it ain't so.
Elmer Fudd, no gun, because it's deemed too offensive. Did you know that different types of cartoons people apparently influences children to go shoot one another? I cannot contest. I've watched many episodes of Looney Tunes, and I don't feel like dropping anvils or shooting anybody.
I don't know. That dropping the anvil does sound appetizing every now and then. And I'm not going to lie, I have painted basically a highway onto a brick wall a few times.
I like that little noise where they go splat, like that. Yes, thank you. I can't get that. Yes, it's a classic.
That's all, folks.
Oh yeah, and also too, Pepe Le Pew no longer is in Looney Tunes. They deem him part of the rape culture, and it's offensive that he
I
chases
would
the
have typed
cat.
him as a French stereotype, too.
Hey baby, the doing, the doing, the doing.
Yeah. He was an affectionate little character, but yes, I can see that as pushing the rape culture. But also, too, I mean, that woman, the female cat, she did put up a challenge. She did
Ah,
give him his comeuppance.
but there is one episode people don't talk about. This episode. There's one episode where she chases him after being fed up so many times of him chasing her.
Hmm. This one I was not aware of.
Yes, there was one episode where she goes crazy and she chases him and he's like, no, 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 don't chase me. And he starts to run.
See, that's the old saying in action right there, folks. The chase is better than the catch. Eventually, we will get to romantic topics. It won't just be politics and crises happening in the world. We will address your personal plights as well. So please, write to us, and we may structure our next episode based on your very romantic problems.
Yes, because Valentine's Day is around the corner. And,
Yeah.
folks, 3 days after Valentine's Day is my 33rd birthday.
Yeah, so get your Patreons and PayPals ready. No pun intended.
Really, Justin? You're trying to advertise to the masses about money.
Yes, I'm always trying to advertise about money.
Money! It's a crime.
Money, it's a crime. Yep. Yes,
Jared,
folks.
leave, but don't take less my path.
Don't worry, folks. We will also be making our own Amazon wish list should you feel like contributing to the show. And remember, every donation counts.
Better equipment means better sound and better quality.
Yes, we won't be recording on our Super Nintendos.
Dee 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 dee.
That's Nintendo.
Oh, whoops. I'm half asleep. It's like,
Yes,
what
folks.
time?
As we
It's
said,
like
we had technical issues. It is early as fuck o'clock. It is, wow. I don't even
1:56 in
want
the
to talk
morning.
about what time it is.
1:56 in the morning, a.m.
1:56, folks. See, this is a very late show. So depending on what time you hear it today, please acknowledge that we are tired beyond our asses. And this is the fourth time over the course of 2 weeks we've actually tried to record the show all the way through. So please understand our plights when, I don't know, subscribing to us or visiting our Amazon wish lists.
Please, please listen to our podcast. The more you do, the more audience we do, and the more exposure we get. And the more
And
we'll make episodes for you.
And the more F-bombs Jazz may drop.
Please spread this like the COVID. Please spread our
No. We will. The comments Jazz has said on the Everything Omnibus does not reflect the sole property of the Everything Omnibus.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that as a joke.
Yes. And they say I'm the live wire on this show.
Live wire!
No, we're not going into Motley Crue. In fact, what we are going back to save what's left of this podcast, we're going to be talking about another Another, excuse me, product that was banned.
Okay.
The cream of wheat was criticized for using an offensive name. In
And
1901, cream of wheat was introduced, or wheat introduced its mascot, Rastus, a smiling black chef. The term Rastus, however, has been long considered an offensive term for black men. I've never heard this one myself personally.
a Rasta.
No.
Yeah.
Rastus, Rastus.
Oh, okay. That's probably an old terminology then. Yes.
Yes, inciting backlash for the brand. In 1925, Rastus was taken off the cream of wheat packaging and replaced with Frank L. White, a black chef who can still be found on the boxes today. You know
I
what?
don't really. I don't know much about the product. I've never. I don't. I'm not a cream of wheat fan. I mean,
I'm gonna
do
look at
we?
the 1925. I'm not too familiar either.
Do
I never knew it went to public light as a problem.
do people even eat cream of wheat anymore?
I don't know. I may have to go visit a few museums and find out.
Back in my day, we had cream of wheat.
Yeah, please stop making fun of our elderly audience, Jazz. It's not funny.
And you get a paddling. And you
No,
get a paddling.
I can kind of see based on the old artwork here that it's tend going towards a more blackface, but not
Yeah.
too. Basically, a yes sir, no sir connotation. I could see how some people are aiming towards that, but again, that is a far stretch.
Again, like I said, I think people are very sensitive these days of what expression of actual opinions, thoughts, and or depictions of certain cultures and things. I mean, yes, they're starting to come out of the woodwork and express what is offensive, you know?
Speaking of offensive, I mean, we've already touched on Skype, but how many times have you been banned off of Facebook? I mean, you've had to contact your fans multiple times. You've been banned, what, 5 times? 5 different accounts?
Yes, I've had a 59-day ban.
Wow, yes. It was quite hard. It's like, oh, Jazz has added you on one account. Oh, here comes Jazz on a backup account. It's kind of like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It just keeps on going.
I've been banned off of Instagram 25 times.
Folks, let's take a moment and give Jazz a slow clap for that one. I mean, that takes
Um,
commitment. What the fuck did you do?
true crime art.
Oh, and you're also telling me off the air, I believe, something about the Beatles.
Oh, yes, my quickest band was a Beatles group. I was just making jokes with memes, and I went a little too far. So I did one that said "Let It Be Yoko," and I superimposed Yoko Ono's face on the "Let It Be" album cover. And what was the guy from what's it called, Pulp Fiction again? I always forget his name. What's his name?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. I said, "Let it be, motherfucker," and then I did one that said, "Bigger than Jesus," and I had John Lennon walking on Jesus, and of course people are like, "This is vile. This is vile." I said, "Guys, this is only meant as jokes." Next thing you know, I couldn't post in the group anymore. I was banned, and it took a total of 9 minutes.
I don't know, honest to God, how some people don't get banned. I mean, I posted the other day joking. I said, guys, I know what the sunglasses, I may look like him, but as your favorite podcaster, I'm not related to Howard Stern. Jokingly. I mean, we all love Howard Stern. Would you believe one person actually sent me hate mail?
Oh dear, what? Okay, what did they say to you, man? Do you have
They
the
said,
copy of it?
could you please not call yourself Howard Stern? You are not, and I'm saying this verbatim, you
Okay,
are not an ugly Jew.
sent from my heart.
No. We're not going down that one. But
That will be a
uh,
future episode. That will be a future episode.
folks, yes, we do. That is a story for another time. In fact, that story alone, the Sent from My Heart story, may take at least 2 episodes to cover it all. We will have a therapist on air discussing this. We will be digging into the mindset of basically a few of the people that have sent us angry, aggressive emails already on the Everything Omnibus. You wouldn't
And
believe
yes,
it, but it's
and
already happening.
And it will be on a future episode is I See Ghost would be
I
the
see
episode.
ghosts, and the other
Yes.
working title is Dumbasses Gone Wild.
Yes.
Yes. So going back to the hate mail, they said, please don't consider yourself a dot, dot, dot. And I said, I'd like to make this perfectly clear. I don't appreciate these comments you're making. I said, myself, I come from a Middle Eastern background. You know what she said?
What?
Then you and I totally wouldn't get along, neither would your family, because I'm a neo-Nazi 100%. Let me
No,
just say, Let me just say that was the
You
quickest
shitting
talk
me?
ever.
Are you shitting me? She said that to you? She had the
That
nerve to
was the
say that?
quickest, yeah, the quickest talk ever.
Oh shit, man.
So, folks,
Ugh.
please, if you're going to even try to go in our inbox with racist remarks, we're not provoking, we're not
No.
insinuating anything.
Yeah.
This is not the place for it.
Guys, keep it classy. We're not going to respond. We will respond to your hate mail, but mind you, keep it classy and no death threats, nothing messed up. We will not. We will report you if you do.
Yes, folks, exactly. Let's keep this all ages. We'll try to keep the F-bombs to a minimum. In fact, when I
Yes.
go and edit this audio later, I may replace it with little church bells or something. Who knows? If you
Well,
have
I
any
mean,
suggestions of what I should,
my yeah, my run on swearing just a second ago was in pure shock of what she said to you. I'm actually quite floored and shocked that she would
honestly, Jazz,
say
I
that
mean,
to you.
all the decades that I've known you, have actually, when you drop F-bombs most of the time now, I don't even notice it.
I mean, I do speak a dialect of French that's not appropriate, do I?
Well, I think compared to a lot of my former co-hosts, I think you're very well educated, very well spoken, and you saved my ass on many occasions. Yep.
Well, likewise to you, Justin. I mean, you know, I do
So,
like your input and how you speak and conduct yourself. You are also very highly intelligent too.
thank you. Thank you. I do have my Nobel Peace Prizes on the wall. In fact, folks, before we go, I'm just going to say, please be careful when you check your emails. There's a scam going around right now with Facebook. I mean, I was just contacted the other day. Hello, sir. Uh, did you know you won today's Facebook prize lottery? I'm part of the Facebook prize commission, and we need your Google Play cards to send you money. I'm like, what? I said, excuse me?
I also got an inbox, basically some guy saying, "Hey, could you can I share your password? I need to get into my Facebook." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a scam.
Yeah.
Scam, block, delete."
I had one woman, I was saying, you know what, you sound kind of fishy. She said, I have an article for you here. It's about Facebook scams, and it was written by Joe Biden. Click this weird link. So obviously I didn't click. They kept asking, did you click it? Did you click it? I said, yes. Click it again. I said, why? I clicked it. Did you put your password in? Yes. And I joked. I said, you can go and log into my profile now. Then they blocked me.
Oh man.
The
I
worst
mean,
one, going back to cancel culture, I mean, well, there's been
yeah.
a couple. We'll eventually touch on more of these hate mail episodes, but basically, I had one person call me once. They said, hey, honey, well, Hony, do
I was
you
gonna
want
ask
to,
you about this, yeah.
uh, do you want to sexy talk? SEX with a C? I said,
Oh
you
man.
know Justin's a dude's name, right? Oh, shit, you're a dude? I said, yeah, and you're a dumbass. Blocked.
Facebook condones sexual harassment. Do you know how many dick pics I've gotten in the past 6 months?
Whenever I'm clean shaven, I get them too. Apparently, Justin sounds a lot like Justine, so
I mean, no offense. I mean, and Facebook, I block and delete these people that send me this garbage. I don't like it. Unsolicited dick pics is not a way to go. But I mean, and sometimes I expose them on Facebook. I bleep everything out, obviously, so that people don't see the twigs and berries. But I mean, it just proves to you that Facebook condones sexual harassment, and I report these people, and they still don't get banned.
yes, Jazz even has her own Hall of Fame, and they still don't get the message.
Yeah, you send me that stuff, I expose you for everyone to see since you're so proud of it, right?
So again, folks, just to beat the dead horse one more time, please keep it simple. And I think with this episode, we're going to wrap it up today. We had a lot to talk about, and we have so much more. Hopefully, we can post this very soon for you to YouTube, Spotify,
And iTunes,
iHeartRadio. We're going to
and
look.
iTunes too.
Oh, we're going to look all over. Hopefully, the audio came out great, and hopefully, you guys had a lot of fun listening to us. I mean, for the fourth time in a row, it only gets funner talking about these same goddamn subjects with everyone.
Yes,
Yes. So, folks, until next time, it's been a blast. Jazz, do you have anything to close with?
yes. Bye for now, and thank you for listening to the Everything Omnibus podcast. We hope to see you in future episodes. Bye for now.
All right, folks, that's it for now. Take care, Godspeed,
Bye bye.
and see you at the races.
Yes.